He used to think Sunday mornings were the safest part of the week, quiet, warm, predictable. But that illusion shattered the moment Aaron Hale realized his wife wasn't just leaving early for yoga, she was slipping out before sunrise, dressed far too elegantly for a workout, returning hours later with a serenity that felt borrowed, wrong, stolen. And then came the final blow, a hotel keycard buried in her coat pocket, proof of something he wasn't ready to name, something that made his chest tighten with a fear he didn't yet understand. As Aaron stood alone in their dim kitchen, the world around him suddenly felt staged, like a scene in a film where the camera pulls back to reveal a devastating truth lurking just out of sight. He didn't know it yet, but what waited for him behind that hotel room door would not only break him, it would unravel everything he thought he knew about love, loyalty, and the woman he vowed to trust. Tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this. Aaron spent the next few days pretending life was normal, though nothing felt normal anymore. The discovery of the hotel keycard had lodged itself into his mind like a splinter, small, hidden, but unbearably painful every time he brushed against the thought of it. He tried to keep his breathing steady, his expression neutral, because the one thing he feared more than the truth was letting Marissa see how shaken he truly was. The distance between them, once barely noticeable, had now become a chasm. He saw it in small details. First, the way she avoided eye contact at breakfast, the way her answers had become shorter, lighter, as if she were always holding part of herself back. Then, he started noticing things that were impossible to ignore. She changed her phone password. She kept her device face down at all times, even when charging. She began stepping outside to take calls, whispering in a tone that made Aaron's stomach twist with dread. He told himself he was imagining it, that he was growing paranoid because of that stupid keycard he wasn't even supposed to see. But paranoia doesn't explain how she flinched slightly whenever he brushed her arm. It doesn't explain why she stopped kissing him goodnight and instead turned her back before he even got into bed. It doesn't explain the soft smile she gave her phone on Tuesday night, a smile he hadn't seen directed at him in months. He didn't confront her, not yet. Aaron was the kind of man who held on to fairness like a compass. He didn't want to accuse someone he loved without proof. And despite everything, despite the dread bubbling in his stomach, he wanted desperately to believe Marissa wouldn't betray him. Not her. Not after everything they'd survived together. He stayed quiet, because silence was easier than facing the possibility that their marriage had already cracked beyond repair. One evening, as he sat on the couch pretending to watch TV, his best friend Liam dropped by unexpectedly. Liam had known Aaron since high school, and could read him the way others read weather patterns. One glance, and he could tell storms were coming. "Man, you look like you slept in a blender," Liam said, dropping onto the couch beside him. Aaron forced a laugh. "Rough week. Work stuff. Cut the crap." Liam's tone softened. "Something's off. What happened?" Aaron hesitated. The words he'd been swallowing for days gathered at the back of his throat, heavy and sour. "It's Marissa," he finally said. "She's been different." Liam didn't jump to conclusions. He waited. "She leaves early every Sunday." Aaron continued, staring at the floor. "Says she's going to yoga, but I checked the studio doesn't open until 9. His voice tightened. "And I found a hotel keycard in her pocket." A long silence stretched between them. "Have you asked her about it?" Liam finally asked. "No," Aaron replied, shaking his head. "What am I supposed to say? Hey, honey, mind explaining why you're sneaking into a hotel every Sunday morning?" Liam leaned back, absorbing the weight of the situation. "Look, man, people don't change their schedules like that unless there's a reason, and they definitely don't hide things unless they're afraid of getting caught." The words hit Aaron harder than he expected. He'd been avoiding that exact thought, dodging it like a physical blow. Hearing it spoken out loud made it feel real. "But you need to be smart," Liam added, lowering his voice. "Don't accuse her without knowing the truth. You deserve answers, but you need evidence first." Evidence. The word lingered. That night, After Liam left, Aaron sat alone in the dim light of the living room. His mind spun through every memory he and Marissa had shared, every fight, every apology, every quiet Sunday morning when he believed she was simply bending into yoga poses while he brewed coffee and waited for her to come home. Now he wasn't sure what she was doing at all. He replayed their interactions from the past month, studying them in hindsight, like a detective reviewing footage for missed clues. The emotional distance, the secrecy, the phone, the key card, the early departures, the coldness in bed, the bursts of unexplained happiness. None of it fit together. And yet somehow all of it formed one undeniable shape. Something was happening behind his back. He couldn't sleep that night. At 2 a.m., he got up and made tea just to have something warm to hold. The house felt unfamiliar, as though the walls themselves had absorbed the tension and were now echoing it back at him. He walked past the framed photos on the hallway wall, pictures of him and Marissa smiling on their wedding day, laughing on vacations, goofing around in their old apartment. He wondered when her smile had changed. He wondered when he'd stopped noticing. Thursday morning brought no relief. At breakfast, Marissa sat across from him, scrolling on her phone while he pushed eggs around his plate. She looked beautiful, she always did, but in a way that felt distant, as if she were fading into another world he no longer had access to. "Big day at work?" he asked gently. She blinked up as if remembering he was there. Oh, yeah, lots of meetings." Then she checked the time. "I need to head out early." He nodded, pretending not to notice that she was already dressed nicer than usual for a weekday morning. She didn't kiss him goodbye. She didn't even meet his eyes as she walked out the door. The moment it closed, the silence felt suffocating. He moved to the window, watching her pull out of the driveway. Part of him wanted to follow her right then. Another part, a quieter, more wounded part, was terrified of what he might discover if he did. By Friday evening, the pressure inside him had reached a breaking point. He tried to talk to her, to open a door without forcing anything, to remind her he was still here, willing to listen. "Rissa," he said softly, as she folded laundry in their bedroom, "is everything okay between us?" Her hands paused for a fraction of a second, barely noticeable, unless someone was desperately searching for cracks the way Aaron was. "Of course," she said too quickly. "Why wouldn't it be? I just feel like you've been distant." Her expression flashed irritation, quick but sharp. "Aaron, I'm tired. Can we not do this right now?" He tried again. "I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just trying to understand." She dropped the sweater she was folding and exhaled hard. "You're being paranoid. Not everything is about you." The words sliced through him. Before he could respond, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. She snatched it quickly, screen turned away from him, and stepped into the bathroom to answer the call. The door closed. The whispering returned. Aaron's chest tightened. Whatever was happening, she didn't want him to hear it. And that might have hurt even more than the keycard. Later that night, while Marissa slept with her back turned as usual, Aaron lay awake, staring into the darkness. Liam was right. He couldn't confront her without the truth. But he also couldn't keep living in this limbo, trapped between suspicion and denial. By sunrise, his decision was made. This Sunday, he wouldn't sit at home waiting for her to return with calm lies and yoga excuses. He would follow her. He would see where she went. He would finally uncover the truth she was so desperately hiding. And when he found it, he wasn't sure if he was more afraid of it proving his fears right or proving that his marriage was already lost, long before he noticed. Sunday arrived with a quiet tension that clung to the air like mist. Aaron woke before dawn. Long before Marissa's alarm would ring, he lay still, listening to her slow breathing, wondering how many Sunday mornings she had slipped out while he slept peacefully beside her. Oblivious. Now, he was wide awake, alert, shaken, prepared for the worst, though he didn't know what the worst even meant anymore. When the alarm finally buzzed, Marissa moved with the effortless ease of someone who had repeated the same routine for weeks. She rose, showered quickly, and dressed in the same understated elegance that had bothered him before: simple earrings, light makeup, a fitted blouse under a soft coat. Not exactly gym attire. Not something one would sweat in. "Heading out early," she said quietly while tying her hair. "Class starts soon." Aaron forced a gentle nod. "Drive safe." She gave him a faint smile that didn't reach her eyes. Then she walked out. The moment the front door clicked shut, something inside him snapped into motion. He grabbed his keys, slipped on a jacket, and counted to 30 before stepping outside. His heartbeat wasn't just quick, it pounded against his ribs like a warning drum. Her car was already turning at the end of the street. Aaron got into his own and kept a safe distance, careful to stay several vehicles behind. He had never followed anyone in his life, never imagined he would follow his own wife. But here he was, gripping the steering wheel so tightly, his knuckles turned pale. The city was still half asleep, a few lights flickering in bakery windows, early buses sighing through intersections. Marissa drove with intent, not hesitating, not checking her mirrors, not behaving like someone hiding an affair, but also not heading anywhere a yoga class might be. She continued deeper into downtown, where buildings towered over the narrow streets, casting long shadows even in the early sun. Aaron stayed back, controlling his distance as best he could. Every red light felt like a judgment. Every green felt like a trap. Then, far sooner than he expected, she made a turn onto a curved driveway, marked with gold lettering, Rivermond Hotel. Aaron's chest tightened, so this was real. The keycard hadn't been a lost item or a coincidence. She pulled into the parking area like someone who knew exactly where she was going. As she parked, Aaron circled around the side of the hotel and slipped into a guest parking row where he had a partial view of the entrance. He watched as Marissa stepped out of her car, her coat wrapped neatly around her. She checked the time, 6:27 a.m., and walked briskly toward the glass doors. Then something happened that froze Aaron in his seat. A man stepped out from behind a column near the entrance. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a long black coat. He waited not impatiently, but expectantly, as though he knew Marissa would arrive at that exact moment. Marissa saw him, and her expression changed in a way that made Aaron's heart plummet. Relief, warmth, recognition. Not romantic, not intimate, but something deeply familiar. She approached the man swiftly. They exchanged words Aaron couldn't hear, but the tone was soft, serious, heavy, the kind used between people sharing something important, too important to risk misunderstanding. Then the man placed a hand on her back, guiding her toward the entrance. Aaron's breath shook. It felt like betrayal, even if he didn't know why. Even if he didn't yet know what he was witnessing. He got out of the car and followed them on foot, keeping distance. As he entered the lobby, he spotted them stepping into an elevator at the far side. He saw only a glimpse before the doors closed. Marissa brushing hair behind her ear, the man pressing a button with practiced ease. Aaron hurried forward, eyes darting to the panel above the doors. The elevator was rising, numbers blinking one after another. 4, 6, 7, 8. It stopped at the 8th floor. A weight settled in Aaron's chest, a heaviness that made it hard to breathe. The 8th floor, a hotel keycard he had found, a man she clearly knew, a Sunday ritual that had nothing to do with yoga. He stood there for several seconds, feeling the lobby's cold air against the back of his neck. A receptionist glanced at him briefly, offering a polite smile. Aaron nodded stiffly and pretended to check his phone before backing away. He needed clearer proof. He needed to see for himself. But not yet. If he followed too closely now, he might expose himself. He might lose the chance to understand the full story. He stepped outside and leaned against a wall, shaking. His mind raced with possibilities, each more painful than the last. Was she having an affair? Was this man someone from her past? Was he imagining everything? Was there an innocent explanation buried somewhere beneath the weight of his fear? But deep down, he knew innocence didn't hide in hotel rooms every Sunday morning. After several minutes, Aaron forced himself to breathe slowly, focusing on the rising sun, reflecting off nearby windows. He needed a plan. Desperation was dangerous. It clouded judgment and led to mistakes. He couldn't afford mistakes now, not when the truth was this close, this fragile. He stayed parked across the street for nearly an hour, watching people come and go through the hotel entrance. His mind replayed the image of the man guiding Marissa into the elevator. The protective gesture, the familiarity, the grim seriousness in both of their expressions. Finally, when his nerves were scraped raw, he drove home. He didn't know what to do next. He didn't know what to feel. But he did know one thing. What he'd seen wasn't something he could shrug off, pretend away, or forget. The suspicion that had once been a whisper in the back of his mind was now a scream tearing through his thoughts. Back at home, Aaron sat on the couch, elbows on his knees, staring at the quiet living room. It looked exactly as it always had, but he no longer felt like he belonged in it. His marriage, his life felt unfamiliar, reshaped by secrets he didn't understand. He tried to rationalize. Maybe it wasn't an affair. Maybe the man was someone from work. Maybe she was helping someone. Maybe she had a private issue she wasn't ready to share, but none of the excuses held. Not when the truth was being hidden so carefully. Not when she locked her phone. Not when her voice whispered in the dark. He wanted to confront her, but confronting her meant losing the chance to see the whole picture. If he accused her too soon, she would lie. She would shut him out completely, and then he would never uncover the reason behind those Sunday mornings. He couldn't risk that. Instead, he made a decision he never expected he would make. He would return next week. He would follow her again. He would gather enough evidence to force a real conversation, one she couldn't run from. He didn't want to be a detective in his own marriage. He didn't want to suspect the woman he loved, but love alone couldn't blind him anymore. He stared at the quiet hallway leading to their bedroom, where their wedding photo hung. He had once believed that photo captured the start of a lifetime of honesty, but honesty had begun slipping away somewhere, replaced by something cold and hidden, and now he had seen the first piece of it. Next Sunday would bring the next. The days that followed moved with a kind of sluggish tension, as though time itself had grown wary of what it was dragging Aaron toward. Monday no longer felt like Monday. Tuesday blurred into Wednesday. Everything in Aaron's life had tilted, as if one small truth had shifted the axis of his entire world. He tried to keep up the appearance of normalcy, but inside, he felt like an actor trapped in a scene he no longer believed in. The memory of Marissa entering the Rivermond Hotel with that man replayed in his head like a looping reel. The image was burned into him, the familiarity between them, the quiet urgency, the unspoken understanding. It wasn't romance. That was what tormented him most. It wasn't flirtation or desire. It was something deeper, something shadowed, something she trusted that man with, but not him. It was exactly that kind of truth that unsettled him more than any suspected affair. Each evening, Aaron watched Marissa carefully, though he tried not to make it obvious. He noticed the way she double-checked her purse when she came home, the way she delayed changing out of her work clothes until after she'd gone into the bathroom long enough, he suspected, to hide anything she didn't want him to see. She still kept her phone close, as if it were a fragile life support machine she couldn't risk losing. The phone was never more than a foot away, never unlocked, never unattended. Thursday night, he heard her laughter from the hallway as she whispered into it again, that soft, secretive laugh she used to give him back when things were simple, when Sundays weren't riddled with dread. It stabbed through him with a bitterness he wasn't ready to admit. He walked away before she could see the look on his face. By Friday morning, the weight grew unbearable. He decided to do something he'd never before considered, not even in moments of insecurity or doubt. He decided to check their financial statements. It felt like crossing a moral line, but the truth was already slipping from his grasp, and he needed to catch it before it vanished completely. He logged into their joint account, heart thudding. Most transactions made sense. Groceries, gas, utilities, a dinner receipt, But then he saw a line highlighted in unfamiliar text. Rivermont Hotel, $247.60. A week-old charge. Another one. 2 weeks before that. Another on the Sunday 3 weeks prior. His breath caught. It wasn't a one-time coincidence. It was a pattern. Consistent, intentional, hidden. Aaron felt nauseous. He let the laptop fall closed, leaning back on the couch with a hand pressed over his eyes. He wanted to scream. He wanted to cry. He wanted to throw the laptop across the room. Instead, he stayed silent because silence had become his only way to survive the uncertainty without breaking completely. When Marissa came home that evening, she appeared tired, more tired than usual. He wondered if she could feel the growing distance between them, the weight of a truth she refused to share. "Hey," she said lightly, dropping her purse on the counter. "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was messier than usual." He studied her for a moment before offering a small nod. "Dinner's in the oven." She smiled faintly, but her eyes flickered with something unreadable. Guilt, fear, exhaustion. He couldn't tell anymore. She kissed his cheek in a way that felt mechanical, then slipped past him into the bedroom. Aaron stared at the empty doorway for a long time, wondering how two people could share a home, yet feel separated by miles of secrecy. Saturday morning, he finally reached his breaking point. He couldn't keep tiptoeing around blind suspicion. He needed clarity, answers, something solid to confront her with when the time came. He sat at the kitchen table with his coffee growing cold and pulled out his phone. After scrolling through several listings, he settled on something he never imagined needing. A private investigator. Her name was Diane Mercer, a middle-aged woman with a sharp gaze in her photo and impressive credentials beneath it. Former law enforcement, 15 years working surveillance and missing person cases, known for discretion and precision. He booked a consultation for that afternoon. When Aaron entered Diane's office, a narrow space tucked above a pawn shop, he felt a surge of guilt, like he was betraying his wife, even though she had already betrayed him first, or at least felt dangerously close to doing so. Diane extended her hand. "Aaron Hale, right? Come on in." Her voice was calm, collected, the tone of someone who had heard countless stories like his yet treated each as its own unique unraveling. They sat across from each other in worn leather chairs. "So," she began, pulling out a small notebook, "tell me, what's going on?" Aaron inhaled slowly and told her everything from Marissa's Sunday routines to the hotel keycard, from the mysterious man in the black coat to the financial transactions. Diane didn't interrupt. She took notes. Her brows tightened slightly at certain details, but otherwise kept her expression neutral. When he finished, she rested her pen against the notebook. "That's a lot of red flags," she said plainly. Aaron felt his stomach twist. "So, you think she's having an affair?" Diane shook her head. "Not necessarily. Patterns tell a story, but they don't tell the story. The secrecy is concerning. Yes, the hotel charges even more so. But the man you described, tall, concealed, moving with purpose, it could indicate something else." "What else?" His voice cracked. "Family trouble, debt, illegal activity, fear." Diane leaned back slightly, but shared secrets between two people rarely exclude the spouse unless the truth is something they consider dangerous. Dangerous. The word felt cold against his skin. "I can follow her," Diane continued. "Gather photographic evidence. Document her movements. You'll have clarity within a week, maybe sooner." Aaron looked down at his hands. They trembled slightly. The idea of knowing the truth terrified him, but not as much as living with lies. "Do it," he said quietly. Diane nodded and wrote down the details. "This Sunday, I'll shadow her, but you need to stay out of sight. If she senses you're suspicious, she'll alter her behavior. We need her routine intact." Aaron swallowed. "I understand." When he left the office, the sun had begun to set, scattering long shadows across the streets. He felt smaller walking back to his car, as though he had shrunk inside his own life. Everything was happening too fast, yet agonizingly slow at the same time. He no longer knew who he was in this story: husband, detective, victim, or something in between. That night, Aaron made an attempt to bridge the widening distance between him and Marissa. He prepared a simple dinner: roasted chicken, her favorite garlic potatoes, a salad with cranberries. It wasn't much, but it was an offering, a quiet plea for closeness. Marissa walked in late again, shoulders slumped. "I made dinner," Aaron said softly, hopeful. She glanced at the table, then at her phone. "That's sweet, but I'm not very hungry tonight. I had a late lunch with coworkers." His heart tightened. "Maybe just sit with me then." She hesitated, eyes drifting toward her buzzing phone. "I really can't tonight. I need to send a few emails, and I'm exhausted." Her tone grew sharp. "Please don't make this a thing." He shook his head. "I'm not making anything a thing, Marissa. I just what?" she snapped. "Just want to monitor everything I do now." "Why are you acting like this?" The accusation hit him hard. "I'm not monitoring you. I'm trying to understand you." "Well, maybe you should stop trying so hard," she muttered, grabbing her laptop before leaving the room. Aaron didn't move for a long time. The dinner in front of him cooled, untouched. He felt the sting of her words settle into his bones, heavier than before. But guilt didn't eclipse the truth. She was hiding something, something big, and tomorrow, Diane would find out what it was. Aaron cleaned the table alone, washed the dishes alone, and went to bed alone, though. Marissa eventually joined him. Silent and facing the opposite direction, he lay awake, listening to the slow rhythm of her breathing, wondering whether she slept peacefully because her conscience was clear or because she believed he would never uncover the truth. But he would. He had to. Sunday was coming. Sunday dawned colder than usual. The sky a muted gray that pressed heavily against the horizon. Aaron woke before the alarm, long before Marissa stirred beside him. Today was the day Diane would follow her. Today was the day he would finally have something more than suspicion, something real, tangible, undeniable. The thought filled him with dread rather than relief. He lay still, pretending to sleep, as Marissa quietly rose from the bed. She moved through the room with careful precision, as though navigating a ritual honed over many weeks. Shower, makeup, clothes too elegant for yoga. A faint, musky perfume she rarely wore around him anymore. Each detail twisted deeper into Aaron's chest. "Heading out," she whispered, her voice thin. He kept his eyes closed, pretending not to hear. Moments later, the door clicked shut, and the familiar silence of Sunday morning washed through the house, except this time. It wasn't peaceful. It was suffocating. Aaron sat up slowly and checked his phone. One message sat there from Diane. "Leaving now. I'll update you as soon as I have movement. Stay put." He nodded, even though she couldn't see him. He trusted Diane more than he trusted himself at this point. She had the clarity he lacked, the composure he'd lost the moment suspicion took root. He made coffee but barely drank it. Every few seconds he checked his phone, waiting, watching, replaying last week, in his mind. Marissa, entering the Rivermond, the man in the black coat, the elevator rising to the 8th floor, the truth lingering just out of reach. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, at 6:48 a.m., his phone buzzed again. "She's arrived at Rivermond, alone. Wearing same coat you described, standing in lobby now." His stomach clenched. Diane wasn't done. The man in the black coat just entered the lobby from the hallway. They greeted each other. Not romantic, but definitely familiar. Heading toward elevators now. "I'll follow." Aaron gripped the phone so tightly his hand hurt. 8th floor, room 814. Same as last week. She entered the room with him. Door shut. That was it. The confirmation. The pattern was real. The secrecy was deliberate. The hotel charges made sense. Everything aligned, everything except any explanation that didn't involve betrayal. He pressed his palms to his eyes, trying to focus through the wave of nausea. For a moment, he considered driving to the hotel, storming into the elevator, confronting her, confronting him, confronting whatever truth waited behind that door. But then a new message came. Want me to stay stationed? I can observe exits, visitors, behaviors. Aaron stared at the screen. He didn't want to be the kind of man who needed surveillance on his own wife. But this wasn't about pride anymore. This was survival, emotional survival. He needed clarity before he confronted her, before he made accusations he could never take back. Yes, stay. Tell me everything. He hit send. The next update came 15 minutes later. They haven't left the room. No noise from inside. Cleaning staff passed by. No reaction. Another message followed. Man's car found in the lot. Unregistered to him. Suspected alias name used at entry last week. Strange behavior patterns, cautious, alert, like someone avoiding recognition. Aaron blinked. That didn't align with an affair. Affairs were careless, reckless, messy. They didn't involve unregistered vehicles and secretive meeting arrangements that looked more like covert operations than romantic rendezvous. But the secrecy still hurt. Because no matter what the reason was, she didn't trust him enough to tell him. By 8 a.m., Diane sent more. Movement. Door opened briefly. Woman stepped out, your wife. She looked upset, eyes red. She spoke quietly to the man. Couldn't hear what they said. Then she went back in. Aaron's heart lurched, upset, crying. Why? He paced the living room, feeling the walls closing in. Fear, suspicion, confusion, everything tangled together in an indistinguishable knot. At 9:12 a.m., the next update came. They're leaving the room. Separately. She left first, heading to elevator. Man waited in hallway until she was gone. Very careful, suspiciously so. Aaron felt a chill crawl across his skin. Following man now. He's thin, walks slowly, looks ill. Possible injury or long-term sickness. Moves with caution, like he's expecting danger. Aaron froze. Ill, injured. What kind of affair partner was like that? He exited through staff corridor, avoided cameras, got into car and left. Then, finally, your wife is heading home. Aaron sat heavily on the couch as the messages stopped. The silence returned, heavier than before. He felt like he knew more, and yet understood nothing. The puzzle pieces were all there, scattered on a table he wasn't allowed to touch. The front door opened softly. Marissa walked in, her cheeks slightly flushed from the cold. Her expression stiffened when she saw him sitting in the living room. She wasn't expecting him awake. "You're up early," she said, shrugging off her coat. He studied her. The faint redness around her eyes was impossible to ignore now that he was looking for it. "Couldn't sleep," he answered. She forced a small smile, the kind a person gives when they're trying to keep their world from cracking open. Yoga was intense today. His throat tightened. He wanted to scream that he knew she'd been lying, that he knew she hadn't been at yoga, that he knew where she had been and with whom, but he couldn't, not yet. He needed one more missing piece, one more unmistakable truth, so he simply nodded and said nothing. Marissa hesitated, as if she expected him to question her. When he didn't, she exhaled a quiet breath of relief or guilt. He couldn't tell, and walked toward the bedroom. Aaron remained still, holding himself together by a thread. His phone buzzed again. One final message from Diane. "Aaron, based on what I've seen, this doesn't look like romance. It looks like fear. Your wife is hiding something. Yes, but maybe not what you think. The man seems sick or injured, and he's deliberately avoiding detection." Another message followed quickly. "I'll dig deeper, but prepare yourself. Whatever she's involved in, it's more complicated than infidelity." Aaron dropped the phone onto the couch cushion, staring into the empty air ahead of him. His pulse thundered, his mind spinning. More complicated than infidelity. He should have felt relieved. He shouldn't be happy that the signs didn't point to an affair. But the truth wasn't comforting, not yet. Not when he didn't understand what she feared, who the man was, Why secrecy was necessary, why she let him suffer alone in doubt while she fought whatever battle this was. In silence, Sunday afternoon crawled by. Marissa pretended everything was normal, cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, answered emails. But every so often, Aaron caught her staring off into the distance, her hands trembling slightly as she held a mug or folded a towel. She was hiding something, and the weight of it was crushing both of them. That night, as Marissa slept, Aaron stepped quietly into the hallway and stared at his reflection in the darkened window. His face looked different, more tired, more shadowed, more determined. He whispered to himself, "What are you hiding from me?" The house offered no answers, but Diane would, soon. And when the truth finally surfaced, Aaron knew it would either save their marriage or shatter it completely. Throughout the week that followed, the house felt quieter than ever, so quiet that Aaron could hear his own thoughts echoing back at him, magnifying every doubt, every question, every fear he had been trying to outrun. The truth Diane had gathered so far didn't comfort him. It only deepened the mystery. If the man wasn't her lover, then what was he? Why the need for secrecy? Why the hotel? Why the lies? He didn't know which possibility hurt more, the idea that she might be betraying him romantically, or the idea that she was carrying a burden heavy enough to lie to her own husband about. He needed to talk to her, not to accuse, not to explode, just to reach her, reach the woman he once knew so well. But every attempt ended before it began. He would open his mouth, ready to ask where she went, who she was with, why she came home with tear-streaked eyes, and the words would collapse under the weight of everything he didn't know yet. Still, on Wednesday evening, he finally gathered enough courage to try. Marissa was sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone, her shoulders tight with exhaustion. The yellow glow from the lamp highlighted the shadows beneath her eyes. She looked worn, frayed at the edges, but she also looked distant, as if trapped behind some invisible wall he could no longer pass through. "Hey," he said gently, sitting down beside her. She didn't look up. "Hey." He swallowed. "Hey. Hey. I feel like something's been off between us lately." She paused, her thumb hovering above the screen. Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I don't know what you mean," she replied, her tone defensive. "Marissa," he said softly, "you've been different, distracted, distant." Her eyes flickered, filled with a wariness he'd never seen before. "I've just been stressed. That's all. You can tell me if something's wrong," he pressed. "You know that, right?" She finally met his gaze, but her expression was guarded. "Why are you suddenly asking me this?" "Because you leave every Sunday morning and walk into a hotel with a man who looks like he's hiding from the world. Because you lie about yoga. Because you're crying behind closed doors and pretending nothing's happening. Because I don't know who you are anymore." None of the real reasons made it past his lips. Instead, he said, "I just miss us." For a moment, just a moment, her eyes softened. A flicker of the woman he loved surfaced, but then it vanished as quickly as it appeared. She looked away. "I'm tired. Aaron, I'm really not in the mood for a deep conversation right now." He nodded slowly. "Okay, then maybe this weekend." I said, "Not now." Her voice sharpened, slicing through his attempt. He inhaled shakily, forcing himself to stay calm. "I'm not trying to fight." Marissa stood abruptly. "Then stop interrogating me." Her words hit him like a physical blow. She walked out of the room before he could respond, leaving him sitting alone, staring at the dent her body had left in the couch cushion. He heard the bedroom door shut moments later, a soft but definitive sound. Aaron leaned forward, pressing his palms against his eyes. Every conversation felt like stepping onto a minefield. He didn't know which words would detonate, which gestures would set her off. And now, he wasn't even sure she wanted to be reached at all. Later that night, long after she had fallen asleep with her back turned to him, Aaron got up quietly and walked into the kitchen. He poured himself a glass of water, but it tasted like metal on his tongue. He set the glass down, pressing both hands against the counter. He was losing her, or she was slipping away. Maybe both. His phone buzzed suddenly. A message from Diane. Working on identifying the man. I'll update soon. But something is definitely wrong here. She's hiding more than she realizes. Aaron's chest tightened at the words. He didn't want to believe that Marissa was capable of deceit at such a level, intentional, layered, rehearsed, but the signs were undeniable. He returned to bed eventually, lying awake while listening to her breathing. Even that sounded distant. By Friday, the tension in the house thickened to the point where every interaction felt brittle. They barely spoke. When they did, their words were stripped of warmth. She avoided his eyes. He avoided pushing too hard. But something changed that evening. Marissa came home later than usual. She walked into the house with shaky hands, her purse held close to her chest. Her face looked pale, as though she'd witnessed something she couldn't process. Aaron rose from the table immediately. "Marissa, are you okay?" She startled, dropping her keys. It took her a moment to regain composure, brushing off invisible dust from her coat sleeve. "I'm fine," she said too quickly. "Just tired." He frowned. "You look upset." She stiffened. "I said I'm fine." He took a careful step toward her. "Did something happen today?" "No." Her voice cracked slightly before she forced it steady again. "I'm just overwhelmed with work." It was a lie. He could hear it, feel it, but he didn't press further, not when she was already teetering on the edge. Marissa took a few slow breaths, then walked to the bedroom without another word. Aaron stayed where he was, fists clenched at his sides. Something had happened, but she wasn't ready or willing to talk. The secrets were now consuming her as much as they were destroying him. That night, he heard her crying softly in the bathroom. The door was closed, and she was trying to muffle her sobs, but the sound reached him anyway. Raw, strained, heartbreaking. He stood outside the door, torn between knocking and stepping back. He didn't knock. He stepped back, a choice he regretted almost immediately. On Saturday morning, Marissa moved around the house like a ghost present, but not fully there. She barely met his eyes, barely spoke, barely existed in the same emotional space. It wasn't coldness. It was fear. Pure fear. And fear was far more unsettling than hostility. Around noon, Aaron decided he couldn't keep drowning in silence. He approached her gently as she stood folding laundry in their bedroom. "Marissa," he said, voice quiet, steady, "I think we need to talk about what's been happening." She paused, hands trembling slightly over a shirt. She didn't look up. "There's nothing to talk about," she whispered. "There is," he insisted. "I can see you're hurting. I can feel it. And I'm here. Why can't you trust me enough to tell me what's going on?" Her shoulders tightened. She lifted her head slowly, and he saw something in her eyes. Not guilt, not anger, terror. "Aaron," she said shakily, "please, don't ask me that." His stomach dropped. "Why not?" She shook her head, tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. "Because I can't tell you. I just can't." He stepped closer. "Whatever it is, we can face it together." "No," she whispered, backing away slightly. "We can't." The rejection broke something inside him. A suffocating silence filled the room until she turned away, wiping her eyes. She walked out, leaving the partially folded shirts behind. Aaron remained frozen in place. He'd never felt so helpless, so shut out, so alone. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing tomorrow Sunday would bring the truth, whether he was ready for it or not. Because he wasn't waiting anymore. He was going to the Rivermond himself. He was going to see everything with his own eyes. Whatever secrets Marissa had been protecting, whatever fear she was hiding behind, whatever truth she believed would break them, he would finally face it, and he prayed he would survive it. Sunday morning arrived like a storm he had been bracing for all week. Aaron barely slept. He had drifted in and out of half-consciousness, every nerve on edge, every thought circling the same dark center. Marissa's alarm chimed at 5:50, a.m., far earlier than any yoga class would dare to open. She moved quietly around the room, unaware that he was awake, unaware that he had already made a decision that would change everything. He waited until he heard the garage door rumble open. Then he rose from the bed, cold washing over him as his bare feet touched the floor. He dressed quickly, dark clothes, jacket zipped, shoes tied tight, and grabbed his keys. Today, he would not hold back. Today, he would not watch from far away. He would follow her into the place where all her secrets lived. He stepped outside, just as her taillights disappeared around the corner. The sky was deep blue, not yet touched by sunrise. The air sharp with early morning chill. He got into his car, waited 10 seconds, then pulled out after her, keeping distance but not letting her out of sight. His heart thudded with every turn she made. He knew the route by now, but today it felt different. Heavy, faded, irreversible. Each street carried him closer to something he feared but could no longer avoid. When she turned into the Riverman Hotel entrance, a hollow feeling spread inside him. He had seen this before, but seeing it again, the precision. The ritual felt like confirming something unforgivable. She parked in the same spot as previous Sundays, stepped out, and wrapped her coat tight around her. She paused for a moment, glancing around the lot with a kind of nervous tension. Aaron sank lower in his seat instinctively. Breath held. It wasn't the behavior of someone excited to see an affair partner. It was the behavior of someone afraid of being followed. Then the man appeared. He materialized from the hotel's side entrance. Tall figure in a dark coat, just as Diane had described, even from afar. The man's movements looked deliberate but strained. He stood straight, but every step seemed weighted with pain or caution. When Marissa reached him, she touched his arm not intimately, but urgently, as if checking whether he was well. He nodded once, a silent exchange, and they walked inside together. Aaron's pulse hammered loudly, loud enough that he wondered whether someone standing beside him might hear it. He got out of his car slowly, feet planting firmly on the asphalt as he approached the hotel entrance. The automatic doors slid open with a soft sigh, and he stepped into the warm, polished lobby. The scent of expensive cleaning products and brewed coffee floated through the air. It would almost feel luxurious, if not for the dread twisting his insides. He scanned the space empty, aside from a receptionist, who barely glanced up. At the far end of the lobby, he saw the elevator doors sliding shut. He rushed forward, eyes darting to the display above them. It was rising. 4, 6, 7, 8. The 8th floor, again. Aaron stood there for several seconds, breathing unevenly. He could turn back now, pretend he saw nothing, pretend everything was fine. But something deep inside him, painful, insistent, resolute, pushed him forward. He pressed the elevator button. The doors opened with a quiet chime. He stepped inside and pressed 8. Feeling a chill run through him, as the elevator ascended, each floor ticked past with agonizing slowness. 5, 6, 7. He closed his eyes for a moment. 8. The doors parted softly, revealing a carpeted hallway lined with warm lights and perfectly framed art. But beneath that elegance was a silence that prickled against his skin. He stepped out, his breath unsteady. He had Diane's message from last week burned into his mind. Room 814. He began walking, the padded carpet muting his footsteps. Every door he passed felt like a heartbeat. 808, 810, 812. And then he stopped. His entire body tightened, the world narrowing to the polished gold numbers affixed to that door. He stood just inches away from the truth he had feared for weeks. His heart pounded so violently, he thought he might collapse. From behind the door, faint voices filtered through. He leaned slightly closer, careful not to make a sound. Marissa's voice, soft, distressed. "You're not getting worse, are you?" Then the man's voice, thin, breathy, strained. "I'm trying. I just need time." Aaron's brow tightened. This didn't sound like lovers. It sounded like something else entirely, something darker, something he didn't understand. He placed his hand on the doorknob before realizing it wouldn't open. But then he remembered something Diane had given him the day before. A small magnetic strip device, one she insisted must only be used if absolutely necessary. He stood there shaking, torn between hesitation and desperation. Then a sound emerged from inside the room that shattered his hesitation. A sharp, strangled cough, followed by Marissa's panicked whisper, "You're scaring me. You said it was getting better." Aaron's body moved before his mind could catch up. He reached into his pocket, slid the device over the lock, and heard the faint click. The door cracked open. What he saw inside wasn't at all what he expected. In fact, it broke him in a way an affair never could. Marissa stood beside the bed, her face streaked with tears, her hands trembling as she reached toward the man sitting on the edge of the mattress. The man looked frail, drastically thinner than the figure Aaron had imagined. His cheeks were hollow, his skin pale, his breathing ragged. He looked nothing like a romantic partner. He looked like someone dying. Aaron stepped fully into the room. The door clicked softly behind him. Marissa spun around, eyes wide with terror. "Aaron." He stared at her, then at the man, then back at her again, his voice barely formed. What is this?" Marissa froze. The man looked up slowly, his eyes haunted but familiar in a way Aaron couldn't place. "Aaron," Marissa whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, don't jump to conclusions." "Jump to conclusions," Aaron repeated, his voice shaking. "You've been lying to me for weeks. Leaving at dawn, meeting him here, what am I supposed to think?" Marissa took a step forward, but Aaron lifted a hand instinctively, signaling her to stop. The man coughed harshly and wiped a streak of blood from the corner of his mouth. "He deserves to know," he rasped. Marissa shook her head desperately. "Not like this. Please, not like this." Aaron turned toward the man, his breath unsteady. "Who are you?" The man swallowed with difficulty. When he spoke, the truth landed like a lightning strike. He said hoarsely, "Marissa's older brother." Aaron's heart stopped. He blinked hard, trying to process the words. "Ethan, the brother," Marissa said, "disappeared 10 years ago. The brother she had cried over. The brother whose name haunted her nightmares long after the search ended." "That's impossible," Aaron whispered. "She told me you were gone. She told me you vanished." Ethan gave a faint, bitter half-smile. "I did, for good reason." Marissa pressed a trembling hand to her lips. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I was going to tell you when it was safe." Aaron's head spun. Safe? Safe from what? He stumbled backward, gripping the edge of a cabinet to steady himself. "Why the secrecy?" he demanded. "Why the lies? Why hide your brother in a hotel room?" Marissa's tears fell freely now. "Because he's in danger. And because if you knew where he was, you would have tried to get help. You would have gone to the police, and that would get him killed." Aaron stared at her, stunned into silence. Ethan coughed again, weaker this time. "She was protecting me," he murmured, "even from you." Aaron felt his world tilt sideways. The betrayal hit differently now, not cold and sharp, but heavy and tragic. Marissa hadn't been unfaithful. She had been terrified, desperate, alone. He gripped the cabinet harder as reality settled in. His wife had been carrying a secret that could destroy both of them, and he had only just stepped into the edge of it. For several seconds, no one in the room moved. The air felt thick, almost liquid, and heavy enough to choke on. Aaron stood rooted to the spot, unable to process the scene before him. The man Ethan sat hunched on the edge of the bed, one hand gripping his ribcage, as though every breath he took threatened to break him from the inside. Marissa stood between them, trembling, her eyes darting helplessly from her husband to her brother. Aaron forced himself to speak, though his voice barely cooperated. "Someone explain now." Marissa stepped forward in small, hesitant movements, as if approaching a wounded animal that might lash out. "Please try to listen before you get angry." "No," Aaron cut in sharply. "Anger is the only honest thing I feel right now." Her lips quivered, but she nodded. She turned to Ethan, who gave her a faint, reassuring gesture, despite clearly being in pain. She swallowed hard. When Ethan disappeared 10 years ago, he didn't just walk away. He was running from people who wanted him dead. Aaron's brow tightened. Running from what? Who? Ethan cleared his throat, the sound scraping painfully. I fell in with the wrong people. I made deals I shouldn't have, with men you don't say no to. And when I knew I couldn't pay or deliver what they wanted, I ran. I had no choice. Aaron stared. For 10 years, Ethan nodded weakly. They don't forget. Not men like them. Marissa stepped in, her hands clasped together as if holding something fragile. A few weeks ago, Ethan contacted me. He said he needed help, that he was sick, that the people after him weren't far. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't know what else to do. I couldn't bring him home. I couldn't tell you. If anyone found out where he was, they'd... Her voice cracked. I did what I had to, she whispered. Aaron wanted to shout, to demand why she didn't trust him, why she had chosen secrecy over partnership, why she had let him spiral into suspicion and pain. But the words caught, tangled in the raw anguish on her face. Why hide him in a hotel? Aaron asked, softer now, but no less hurt. Because I thought it was safer, she said. Different rooms every few days, different entrants, cash payments, no patterns. I didn't want anyone tracing him. And the man in the coat, Aaron pressed. The one you meet every Sunday. Marissa blinked. What man? Aaron clenched his jaw. The tall one. The one you came in with earlier. Her eyes widened. Aaron, I always come alone. I've met Ethan on my own every single time. Ethan shook his head slowly, breath labored. She's telling the truth. Aaron felt a chill run through him. If Marissa wasn't meeting that man, then who was he? And why was he always there? But before he could ask, Ethan's body convulsed with a violent cough. Blood sprayed onto his sleeve. He wavered, nearly collapsing forward until Marissa grabbed his shoulders. Aaron, help me, she cried. Reflex overcame confusion. Aaron rushed forward, catching Ethan before he toppled onto the floor. The man felt impossibly light, as if fear and illness had hollowed him out. Put him back on the bed, Aaron said urgently. They eased Ethan down, his breath shallow and rapid. His skin had turned an alarming shade of gray. Why didn't you take him to a hospital? Aaron demanded. Because they report everything, Marissa said. And those people he's running from, all it takes is one record, one ID check, one security camera. He'd never make it out alive. And letting him die in a hotel room is better. Aaron's voice cracked under the weight of it. No, she whispered, tears streaming. But I'm trying to buy enough time for him to stabilize, to get him somewhere safe, to find someone who can help without turning him in. Ethan coughed again, weaker this time. I didn't want you involved. Aaron, you don't deserve this. Aaron felt a startling, unexpected emotion stir inside him. Not anger, not betrayal, but a raw ache for the suffering man before him. Someone Marissa loved, someone she believed she had to protect alone. Why didn't you trust me? Aaron finally asked. Turning to her, Marissa's breath hitched. Because I was terrified. I knew if you found out, you'd insist on going to the authorities. It's who you are. You do the right thing. You follow rules. You trust systems. She wiped her cheeks with shaking hands. But the system is exactly what would get Ethan killed. Aaron swallowed hard. Her reasoning stabbed at something deep, because she was right. He would have wanted to go to the police immediately. He would have believed that honesty was always the safest path. He would have been wrong this time. He sank onto the edge of the chair, burying his face in his hands. For the first time since suspicion began, he didn't feel rage. He felt exhausted, like he had been fighting shadows, only to find a real monster standing behind them. Finally, he looked up. What's wrong with him? He looks really sick. Marissa nodded, her expression darkening. He has a lung infection, severe. He's been on the run too long, sleeping in alleys, basements, safe houses. He hasn't seen a doctor in years. Aaron exhaled shakily. And the people after him, he said slowly, are they close? Marissa hesitated. Closer than I want to admit. A heavy silence filled the room. Then Ethan whispered, they followed me last week. I saw them. 2 men, near the parking lot. Marissa jerked her head toward him. Why didn't you tell me? Ethan's breath shuddered. Didn't want you to panic. Aaron's blood ran cold. What did they look like? But Ethan didn't answer. His eyes fluttered, his head sagging. He fell unconscious. Ethan, Marissa cried, shaking him gently. Ethan, he's breathing, Aaron said quickly, placing 2 fingers on Ethan's neck. But he needs real medical help, Marissa. He can't survive like this. Her expression twisted. If we take him to a hospital, I know, Aaron said. I know. The impossible situation hung between them, heavy and suffocating. Then a sudden knock echoed through the hallway. 3 sharp taps. Marissa froze. Her face went white. Aaron's heart lurched. The sound wasn't normal. It wasn't housekeeping or room service. It was too purposeful, too exact. The knock repeated. Aaron stepped back from the door, his pulse thundering. Are they early? Marissa whispered, terror blooming in her eyes. I don't know, Aaron murmured. But we can't open that door. The knock stopped. Silence swallowed the room. For a moment, none of them breathed. Then, they heard something far worse. The sound of footsteps retreating down the hall. Slow, controlled, predatory. Marissa clutched Aaron's arm. Aaron, she whispered, voice cracking. They found him. His stomach dropped. This wasn't just secrecy anymore. This was danger. Real danger. And they were already in the middle of it. The footsteps faded down the hallway. But the terror they left behind clung to the room like smoke. Aaron stood motionless, listening so intently that even his own heartbeat sounded too loud, too dangerous. Marissa pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, trying to steady her breath. Ethan lay unconscious on the bed, a fragile shadow of a man, utterly defenseless. We need to leave, Aaron whispered, voice low and sharp. Right now. Marissa shook her head, panic glazing her eyes. We can't move him like this. He barely made it through the night, and if we stay, Aaron replied, he won't make it through the hour. She stared at him, her fear meeting his. For a moment, all the lies between them fell away, leaving only 2 people desperately trying to survive something far bigger than either of them. Aaron crossed to the door, pressing his ear against it. Silence. No footsteps, no voices. He cracked the peephole cover and took in the hallway empty, but not safe. The air outside felt still, too still, as if danger were waiting just out of sight. He turned back to Marissa. Get his things. Anything important. We won't come back here. She nodded and moved quickly, gathering a small bag that held Ethan's spare clothing, medication, and a burner phone. Her hands shook so badly that one of the bottles slipped and rolled under the bed. She crawled after it, fighting rising panic with every breath. Aaron leaned over Ethan, gently shaking him. Ethan, wake up. We have to go. Ethan stirred, lids fluttering, breath shallow. What happened? You fainted, Aaron said. Can you walk? Ethan attempted to sit up, winced, and clutched his ribs. Not far. You won't have to, Aaron said, glancing toward the door and calculating their chances. Getting Ethan out unnoticed would be difficult but not impossible. Aaron wasn't a detective or a criminal, but he understood pressure, understood fear. Right now, adrenaline sharpened his instincts. Survival had a way of doing that. Marissa returned with the bag. He can lean on me, she said breathlessly. No, Aaron replied gently. He'll lean on both of us. Together, they lifted Ethan to his feet. His weight sagged against them, legs weak and trembling. Aaron felt the heat radiating from his skin, fever burning hot. They didn't have hours. Time was shrinking fast. A muffled sound echoed from somewhere down the hallway, like a door clicking shut. Marissa's grip tightened on Ethan's arm. We can't go out there. Aaron moved to the window, pulling back the curtain. The 8th floor wasn't impossibly high dangerous. Yes, but survivable with the right fire escape or a soft landing. But the windows didn't open wide enough. Too risky. He scanned the room again until his eyes landed on the connecting door, a door that led to the neighboring suite. Many hotels kept those locked unless specifically requested, but some older ones left at least one side unlocked accidentally. He crossed the room, turned the knob. It clicked open. A breath of relief left him. "This way," he whispered. They slipped through into the adjoining room, empty, beds neatly made, curtains drawn, no sign of occupants. Aaron shut the connecting door softly, then glanced at the hallway door for this new room. He approached it slowly, heart pounding, and checked the peephole. Clear. But clear didn't mean safe. He turned back. "Stairs," he whispered. "We'll use the emergency exit." No cameras. They moved again, Ethan between them. Every step felt like a countdown. They reached the stairwell door. Aaron pushed it open cautiously. A draft of cold air swept past, quiet, empty. Echoing down 8 flights of stairs, they began descending, step by step, with Ethan gasping softly. By the 6th floor, his breaths were wheezing. By the 5th, his legs buckled, and Aaron caught him just in time. "We're almost there," Aaron said. "Stay with us." Ethan nodded weakly. On the 3rd floor landing, the stairwell door burst open above them. Footsteps. Fast. Heavy. Purposeful. Marissa's eyes widened. "They're here." "Move," Aaron whispered, gripping Ethan tighter. They descended faster. The footsteps above grew louder, closer shouting now. Though muffled, someone yelled, "Check the floors!" They couldn't have gone far. On the 2nd floor, Aaron pushed open the stairwell door. A long hallway stretched before them, empty. They hobbled forward, dragging Ethan between them. As the stairwell door above slammed open again, they had seconds. A housekeeping cart sat outside a room nearby, towels stacked neatly, cleaning bottles, sheets draped over the edge. Aaron's mind snapped to the only option. He grabbed the handle, swinging the cart into position. "Get behind it." Marissa looked confused, but followed. They crouched behind the cart, pressing Ethan low, just as 2 men in black coats stormed out from the stairwell, broad, hard-faced, the same type of men Aaron had imagined for years in Marissa's nightmares. One of them barked, "They're somewhere on this floor." Split up. The men moved in opposite directions. Aaron held his breath until his lungs burned. The cart shielded them, but only partially. If one of the men turned around too quickly or looked too closely, they'd be caught instantly. Seconds stretched into eternity. Finally, the men disappeared around opposite corners. "Now," Aaron whispered urgently. They stood, moving as quietly as 3 half-collapsing people could. Down the hall, past the elevators, toward the sign marked "Exit." The 2nd stairwell. Aaron pushed the bar, and they slipped inside. Down 1 more flight, down another. Until, ground floor, they exited into a service corridor. He recognized it from deliveries he'd seen outside hotels before utility doors. Laundry bins, concrete floors. A staff member turned the corner, startled. Aaron stepped forward. "Emergency," he said urgently. "Kitchen, fire upstairs. We were told to evacuate this way." The worker panicked instantly. "Is it spreading?" "Fast," Aaron lied. "Get out." The man bolted. Perfect. They pushed through the back door and emerged behind the hotel, where dumpsters sat against a high brick wall. And then they saw it. 2 men, the same men, coming around the corner into the alley. Their eyes landed on Aaron, Marissa, and Ethan almost instantly. "There," one shouted. Aaron didn't think he acted. "Run." They sprinted. Ethan stumbled, but adrenaline kept him upright. Marissa gripped his arm desperately. The men chased after them, footsteps pounding. Shouting commands Aaron couldn't fully hear over the blood rushing in his ears. They reached the parking lot. Aaron's car was on the far side. Too far. But Liam's words echoed in his mind. "You think best under pressure." He scanned the lot and saw it a maintenance truck parked diagonally, engine idling, driver unloading equipment nearby. Aaron sprinted toward it. "Get out!" he shouted at the stunned man. The worker backed away. Startled, Aaron threw open the passenger door and helped Marissa pull Ethan in. The two men in black were closing in fast. He jumped into the driver's seat. One more second, and they would reach the truck. He floored the gas. The tires screeched. The truck lurched forward, clipping a line of carts, sending them crashing across the asphalt. One of the men dove out of the way. The other slammed his fist against the hood as they rocketed past him. Then they were out of the lot, onto the street, away from the Rivermond. Everyone was breathing heavy. Marissa from terror, Aaron from adrenaline, Ethan from pain. Aaron drove 3 blocks before stopping at a red light. Chest heaving, Marissa turned to him, tears streaking her cheeks. "You saved us." He looked at her, sweat dripping down his temples, heart beating painfully. "No," he said, voice low and raw. "You saved him alone for weeks, Marissa, but you should never have had to." She pressed a shaking hand over her mouth, sobbing softly. Aaron tightened his grip on the steering wheel. This wasn't over. Not even close, because now that he'd seen the danger, he knew he wasn't letting his wife or her brother face it alone again. Whatever truth remained buried, he would dig it out. Whatever threat chased them, he would stand against it, because secrets had nearly destroyed them. But now, the truth might be the only thing that could save them. The truck rattled down the nearly empty street as Aaron gripped the steering wheel tight enough for his knuckles to bleach white. His pulse hadn't slowed since they'd escaped the hotel, and every passing shadow felt like another threat lurking. Marissa clung to Ethan in the passenger seat, her hands trembling against his fever-warm skin. Ethan drifted in and out of consciousness, his breathing shallow, his face gray with exhaustion. "Aaron," Marissa whispered, voice cracking. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere safe," he replied, though he wasn't entirely sure where that was anymore. But he knew one place better than any other, a place no one would think to search. Liam's place. His best friend lived in an old split-level house surrounded by thick foliage, half an hour from town, remote, quiet. The kind of place Danger would have to fight to find. As he drove, the city thinned until they reached the rural outskirts. Houses grew farther apart. The road stretched like a dark ribbon through fields and trees. Marissa kept glancing behind them, expecting headlights to appear. But the road stayed empty. Aaron finally spoke, his voice low, controlled only by sheer force of will. What exactly were they planning to do to him? Marissa swallowed. "They want something he took, something he refuses to give back." Aaron's jaw tightened. "What did he take?" Ethan stirred, muttering something incoherent. His head rolled toward Aaron weakly. "Didn't steal," he gasped. "They lied, blamed me." For another fit of coughing seized him, bringing blood to his lips. Marissa wiped it away quickly. "Don't talk. Save your strength." But Aaron's mind was spiraling. Lies, blame, bounty hunters who didn't wait for police or warrants. Men who searched hotels and chased them through alleyways like predators stalking wounded prey. Whatever Ethan had been involved in, it ran deeper than he'd imagined. By the time they reached Liam's house, dawn had fully broken. Pale light stretched across the sky, washing the treetops in a muted glow that made the world feel eerily calm compared to the chaos they'd just escaped. Aaron parked behind the house. Hidden from the road, he rushed to the passenger side, helping Marissa ease Ethan out of the truck. They staggered up the wooden steps and onto the back porch. Aaron knocked twice quick, sharp taps, a code only 2 lifelong friends would know. Seconds later, the door cracked open, and Liam blinked sleepily at them, wearing flannel pants and a completely stunned expression. "Jesus, Aaron, what the hell happened?" "No time," Aaron said urgently. "We need to get inside." Liam stepped aside immediately. Aaron and Marissa pulled Ethan into the living room, laying him gently across the couch. Liam shut the blinds, locked the doors, and turned toward them with wide eyes. "All right," he said, voice low. "Someone start talking." But Ethan was unconscious again. Marissa was too shaken to form a full sentence, and Aaron, so full of questions he felt like he was suffocating, could only manage a broken fragment of truth. Marissa's brother. He's in danger. Real danger. Liam stared at him. I thought her brother was. Yes. Aaron cut in. We all did. Liam dragged a hand down his face. This is insane. You're telling me? While Marissa checked Ethan's pulse again, Aaron pulled Liam aside. I need your help, he murmured. They followed us. They're searching for him. And we barely got out. Liam's expression hardened, shifting from shock to protective anger. Tell me what you need. We have to keep him hidden until we figure out what's going on. Aaron's voice cracked slightly. Marissa was trying to handle this alone. She shouldn't have had to. Liam nodded with a sigh. You can stay as long as you need, but we can't just sit around hoping they won't find him. We need information. Aaron agreed wholeheartedly. He hadn't realized how quickly he'd shifted from suspicion to something else. A fierce desire to keep Marissa safe, to make up for the weeks he'd spent accusing her silently in his mind. A desire to understand the truth she carried like a weight too heavy for one person. Marissa approached them moments later. He needs antibiotics, she whispered, and rest. But we can't take him anywhere. We will find a way, Aaron promised. She closed her eyes and exhaled shakily, leaning into him for the first time in weeks. He wrapped an arm around her, feeling her entire body trembling, not with guilt, but with fear. Fear she had carried alone, fear that had eaten her alive while he mistook it for distance. Hours passed slowly. Ethan drifted in and out of consciousness. Liam brought blankets, water, anything they might need. Marissa hovered protectively at her brother's side, murmuring reassurances only siblings could understand. Finally, when the house was quiet and Ethan had stabilized enough to sleep, Aaron gently pulled Marissa into the kitchen. Sit, he said. She did. He knelt in front of her. I need you to tell me everything, from the beginning. Her eyes filled. She looked down at her hands, hands that had kept this secret, hands that had fought alone for weeks. Aaron, she whispered. I didn't want to lie to you, but you did. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Ethan called me out of nowhere. He said he was dying, that the people from his past had finally found him again. He needed a place to hide, and he didn't trust anyone but me. Aaron swallowed. Why didn't you tell me? Because you believe in the law, she said, voice trembling. You believe in doing things the right way, and I love that about you. But the people after him, they aren't the kind the police can protect him from. They have reach, connections, money. She wiped her tears away with the back of her hand. I knew you'd insist on going to the authorities, and if we did, Ethan would already be dead. Aaron felt the weight of her words settle heavily in his chest. So you lied, he said quietly. She nodded again, brokenly. Every Sunday, I brought him food, medicine. I checked on him. I thought I could keep him safe. I thought I could fix this without dragging you into danger. I didn't want you hurt. I didn't want them looking for you too. He stared at her, heart twisting. Weeks ago, he would have believed that lie alone equaled betrayal. Now he saw it differently. She didn't hide out of malice. She hid out of desperation, out of fear, out of love twisted by impossible choices. I'm your husband, Aaron whispered. You should have trusted me. A sob escaped her. I know. I was wrong. I'm so sorry. He pulled her into his arms. She clung to him like someone afraid of losing their last anchor. For the first time in weeks, they weren't fighting. They weren't pretending. They weren't tiptoeing around secrets. They were just two people trying to survive the same storm. When they parted, Aaron brushed her hair back gently. We'll fix this. Together. You mean that? She asked, voice trembling with hope and guilt. I do, he said. But first, we need to know exactly who we're up against. As if on cue, a weak voice drifted from the living room. I can tell you. Aaron and Marissa rushed to Ethan's side. He struggled to sit up, sweat beading across his forehead. "You need to rest," Marissa insisted. "No," he rasped. "You need to know." Aaron leaned forward. "Then tell us." Ethan took a painful breath. "The men after me, they're not debt collectors, not gangsters, not anything that simple." Marissa tensed. "Then who?" Ethan's eyes lifted slowly, meeting Aaron's with a haunted intensity. "They're part of a trafficking network," he whispered. "I escaped them years ago. I stole evidence documents, files, lists of names, enough to destroy them." Aaron's blood ran cold. "And now," Ethan continued, his voice shaking, "they want it back." Aaron exchanged a stunned look with Marissa. This wasn't a small problem. This was a nightmare, one big enough to swallow all of them whole. Silence fell so heavily after Ethan's revelation that even the ticking clock on Liam's wall sounded violent. Aaron felt as if the floor had tilted under him, shifting the entire world into something darker, sharper, and far more dangerous than he'd imagined. A trafficking network, evidence, lists of names. This wasn't just some personal debt or vengeful criminal. This was the kind of organization that didn't stop chasing until every loose end was dead. Marissa pressed her hand to her mouth, horrified. "Ethan, why didn't you tell me any of this before?" He swallowed weakly, eyes dim with exhaustion. "Because telling you would have put you in danger. And now I've dragged both of you into it anyway." End quote. Aaron exchanged a look with Marissa, fear, guilt, disbelief, intertwining into something sharp in both of their chests. He settled beside Ethan, trying to steady himself. "You said you stole evidence." Ethan nodded. "Enough to put dozens of them away for life. Enough to bury their entire operation if the authorities ever get it." "Where is it?" Aaron asked. Ethan looked away. "That alone said enough." "You hid it," Aaron said quietly. Ethan nodded. "And they know you have it," Aaron continued. "That's why they've hunted you for 10 years. Ethan shut his eyes. "I thought if I stayed hidden long enough, maybe they'd forget, but they don't forget." Marissa sat down beside her brother, tears shining in her eyes. "Why did you call me after all these years? Why now?" Ethan opened his eyes with effort. "Because I'm dying, Marissa. My lungs are failing. Running has taken everything from me, I thought. If I could see you one last time, maybe you could forgive me for leaving." Marissa broke. She leaned into him, sobbing against his shoulder. Ethan lifted a weak hand to touch her hair. Aaron looked away, giving them space. Though his heart twisted with guilt, he couldn't fully comprehend. All this time he'd suspected her of betrayal, not knowing she had been dragging herself through a nightmare alone. Footsteps approached, and Liam re-entered the room, a phone in one hand, his expression grim. "I've been checking outside. No cars that shouldn't be here. No one watching. But if what he's saying is true, we need to assume they'll find us eventually." Marissa wiped her eyes. "We can't stay here. We can't stay anywhere for long." Aaron looked down at Ethan, pale, sweating, barely able to sit up. "He's not in any condition to be moved again." "No," Marissa whispered. "He's not." Ethan coughed violently, doubling over. Blood stained the blanket Liam had placed on him. His breath wheezed in and out, ragged and uneven. "We need a doctor," Aaron said. But uncertainty shadowed the words. "And risk a record," Marissa whispered sharply. "A file, a camera, one slip, and they'll trace him straight there. They have people everywhere." Aaron ran a hand through his hair, feeling the weight of impossible choices settling on his shoulders. He looked to Liam, who stood with his arms crossed tightly. "Do you know anyone who makes house calls?" Aaron asked. Liam hesitated. "Maybe a retired EMT who owes me a favor. But he's not a miracle worker. He can stabilize, not cure." "It's better than nothing," Aaron said. Liam nodded, already stepping away to make the call. Marissa leaned closer to Ethan. "Hold on, please, just hold on." He tried to smile. "You were always the strong one." "No," she said, voice breaking. I had no idea how much you were suffering." Aaron watched them, and something inside him shifted. Not forgiveness, yet not fully, but something close to understanding. The secret Marissa had carried wasn't selfish or cruel. It was terrifying, heavy, the kind of truth that could destroy or kill anyone it touched. He finally spoke. "Ethan, the evidence you stole, is it safe?" Ethan nodded faintly. "Hidden, locked, protected." "Where?" Aaron pressed. Ethan hesitated, and suddenly, fear flickered across his face. "If I tell you, they'll come after you too. They won't stop." Aaron leaned closer, voice low. "They already will. They saw me. They'll know I'm helping you." Ethan closed his eyes, pain flashing across his features. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I never wanted any of this for you." Liam returned a few minutes later. "He's coming. 20 minutes." He paused. "And Aaron," he says, "the kind of symptoms you described might mean severe pneumonia. If that's the case, we're fighting time even more than danger." Marissa's breath hitched. "He can't die," she whispered fiercely, gripping Ethan's hand, as if holding on to him could anchor him to the world. Aaron placed a hand gently on her back. "We'll try everything." But even as he said the words, uncertainty gnawed at him. He wasn't sure what scared him more, Ethan dying, or Ethan surviving just long enough to bring the entire criminal network down on their heads. Minutes dragged on, heavy and slow. Ethan drifted in and out of sleep, sometimes murmuring unintelligible sentences, sometimes gasping for air. Marissa stayed at his side, whispering softly, stories from their childhood, names of people they once knew, anything to keep him tethered. At one point, Ethan opened his eyes again and looked directly at Aaron. "I'm not a good man," he whispered. "I've done terrible things." Aaron shook his head. "Right now, all that matters is keeping you alive." Ethan smiled weakly. "I didn't call her because I wanted to be saved. I called her because I wanted to stop running. It's exhausting, you know, being hunted." "I can imagine," Aaron said quietly. "No," Ethan rasped. "You don't want to imagine." The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Liam moved quickly, checking the security camera feed on his phone. Then he exhaled in relief. "It's the EMT." He opened the door cautiously. A middle-aged man with salt and pepper hair and a medical bag stepped in. His eyes took in the tension immediately. "Where is he?" Liam pointed to the living room. The EMT approached Ethan, assessing him with practiced calm. He checked vitals, listened to Ethan's chest, pressed fingers against his skin. After several minutes, he looked at Aaron and Marissa grimly. "He's very sick. Bad infection, high fever, rapid deterioration." He hesitated. "He needs hospitalization." Marissa shook her head. "We can't. You don't understand." "I understand someone's trying to kill him," the EMT said bluntly. "But if we don't get antibiotics in him now, none of this will matter." Aaron stepped forward. "What can we do here?" The EMT opened his bag and pulled out supplies. "I can start an IV. Give him a strong dose of antibiotics, fluids, fever reducers. It might buy him time, but he'll need more after this. This isn't a cure." He got to work. Marissa held Ethan's hand while the EMT inserted the line. Ethan winced but didn't speak. His breathing began to ease slightly as fluids entered his system. When the EMT finished, he pulled Aaron aside. "I know you're trying to protect him," he whispered, "but whatever he's involved in, it's going to collapse on all of you eventually. You need a plan." Aaron nodded grimly. "We're working on it." The EMT hesitated before leaving. "If they find you, run. Don't negotiate. Don't talk. Run." When the door shut, the house felt colder than before. Ethan looked slightly better, but far from safe. Marissa brushed his hair back, relief and fear mixing in her expression. Aaron stood behind her, torn between love and anger, between duty and dread. Then Ethan spoke again, voice barely audible. "The evidence, it's buried, hidden in a place no one would look." He paused, breath rattling. "But they think Marissa has it." Aaron froze. Marissa's eyes widened. "What?" she whispered. "Why would they think that?" Ethan coughed weakly. Because I sent her copies. To protect them. To protect her. I didn't think they could track it. Aaron felt the blood drain from his face. Marissa wasn't just collateral. She was a target. The words hit the room like a detonated charge, silent for half a beat, then shattering everything in their path. Marissa sucked in a sharp breath, her hand flying instinctively to her chest, as if she'd been physically struck. Aaron felt his stomach drop, an icy dread unfurling through his veins. They think, I have it, Marissa whispered, voice trembling. Ethan nodded weakly. I sent encrypted copies to your old email. Years ago. I didn't think anyone could trace it, but they must have found a trail. Something old, something I missed. Aaron felt the air thicken. So you've been hiding not just from them, but from a mistake that leads straight to her. Ethan's eyes filled with guilt. I never meant for her to be involved, but when I realized they were sniffing around again, I panicked. I thought if I stayed hidden, if I stayed away, they'd never find her. A string of muffled curses spilled from Liam's lips. He paced the living room, running a hand through his hair. This isn't just messy. This is catastrophic. If they think she has evidence that can destroy them, they won't stop. Not until they get it or silence her. Marissa trembled violently. Aaron wrapped an arm around her, grounding her even as fear continued to burrow deeper inside him. When did you send the files? Aaron asked. Ethan coughed, grimacing. 9 years ago. But Marissa never checked that account. I hoped it would be forgotten by everyone, including her. But these men, they're like bloodhounds. They found digital footprints no one else noticed. Marissa pressed both hands to her face. Oh God, this is my fault. All of it. Aaron turned her gently to face him. No, none of this is your fault. You didn't ask for this. You didn't even know. But she shook her head violently. If I'd checked the email, if I'd deleted things, if you couldn't prevent what you didn't know existed, Aaron said firmly. This is on them, not you. Her eyes glistened. That tiny crack in her armor, rarely shown to anyone, made Aaron want to pull her into his arms and never let danger touch her again. But reality didn't allow softness for long. Liam stopped pacing and looked up. If they think she has the files, could they already know who she is, where she lives? Aaron froze. Marissa's breath hitched. Ethan's silence answered the question before he could. They already know, Aaron whispered. Marissa sank onto the sofa, her hands trembling uncontrollably. We have to go back home. We have to get everything, my passport, whatever they could use. We're not going back there, Aaron said sharply. If they've been watching you, waiting for the right moment, going home is walking into a trap. But my things, we'll manage without them, Aaron said. Your safety comes first. Liam crossed his arms. I can stay and monitor the property, cameras, motion sensors, whatever's needed. No, Aaron said, shaking his head. I won't drag you into this any deeper. Too late, Liam replied. You three are sitting in my living room hiding from murderers. I'm in it whether I want to be or not. Aaron almost argued, but one glance at Liam's determined expression silenced him. The room fell still again. Ethan's breathing grew heavier, rougher, tension knotting his already strained muscles. Marissa knelt beside him. Ethan, is there anyone else who knows about the files? Anyone you trusted? Ethan shook his head weakly. Trust. Ran out a long time ago. What exactly is in those files? Aaron asked. Voice low. Ethan closed his eyes. Names, bank transfers, ledgers, shipments, bribes, and photos. His voice cracked. Photos of what they do to people who try to leave. Marissa flinched. Aaron stiffened. The weight of Ethan's secret now felt like a monstrous thing, crouched in the corner of the room, faceless, shapeless, hungry. Liam let out a slow exhale. Those files could cripple them. That's why they want them back, Ethan whispered. Not because they need them, but because they can't risk them surfacing. Aaron rubbed his face, trying to process the scale of the situation. Where is the original evidence? Not the copies, the source. Ethan swallowed painfully. It's hidden in a locker, off-grid. I was planning to destroy it once I knew Marissa was safe. But now, Aaron said grimly, destroying it won't help. They already think she has it. Ethan's breath trembled. I'm so sorry. Marissa took his hand, tears falling freely. Stop apologizing. You survived. That's what matters. Just then, a faint noise cut through the tense quiet, a soft buzz. Aaron stiffened instantly. It wasn't a phone ringing. It was the house's exterior motion detector. Liam lunged for his tablet, pulling up the security feed. Aaron and Marissa crowded around him, dread coiling in their chests like living vines. The camera showed a dark SUV idling at the edge of the driveway. Marissa covered her mouth, a strangled cry escaping her. Aaron's throat tightened. 3 men stepped out, all in black coats. Not the same 2 from before, but unmistakably connected. Their posture, their scanning gazes, their slow, deliberate way of approaching the house. They found us, Liam whispered. Ethan began wheezing, panic tightening his already shallow breaths. Aaron snapped into motion. Everyone stay calm. We need to be quiet. They can't come inside. Marissa whispered desperately. They can't. Aaron grabbed her shoulders gently. Look at me. She forced her gaze up, tears pooling. We are not letting anything happen to you, he said, voice trembling with fierce determination. I promise. She nodded, though fear still poured off her like heat. The men examined the property, walking slowly around the perimeter, studying windows and doors with predatory precision. Liam lowered his voice. They're searching for signs of life. They don't know we're here yet. Ethan coughed violently, and Aaron and Marissa both whipped around to shush him gently. If he can't stay quiet, Liam whispered. He will, Marissa insisted, holding Ethan close. The men circled the house once, twice. One of them paused near the back of the property, tilting his head as if listening. Aaron's heart pounded hard enough to bruise. Seconds stretched like torture. Finally, the man turned away. They retreated to the SUV. Doors shut. The engine growled softly. Then, the SUV drove off. They all exhaled at once, shaky, disjointed breaths of terror and relief. That was too close, Liam said, wiping sweat from his brow. Aaron nodded. We can't stay here. They'll be back. But where will we go? Marissa whispered. Aaron turned to Ethan, who lay weak and exhausted on the couch. You told the truth, Aaron said quietly. Now we need something else from you. Ethan looked up, guilt carved into every line of his face. Where is the locker? Aaron asked. Marissa's breath caught. If those files can end this, we need them. Ethan closed his eyes, then opened them slowly. There's a self-storage facility outside of Clearwater, he whispered. Unit 119, under a fake name. Keys, Aaron asked. Ethan fumbled in his coat pocket, pulling out a worn metal key attached to a small, faded tag. Aaron took it. He felt the chill of it against his palm, the weight of a truth that could either save them or sign their death warrant. The metal key in Aaron's hand felt heavier than any weapon he had ever held, because this one didn't just open a door, it opened the truth, the danger, the endgame of everything Ethan had been running from. Marissa watched him clutch it with trembling eyes, torn between desperation and dread. You can't go there alone, she whispered. Aaron looked up. I'm not letting you come with me. Her breath caught. Why? Because you're the one they're after, he said softly, painfully. They think you have the files. If they see you anywhere near that locker, they won't hesitate. They won't give you time to explain or run. She shook her head violently. Aaron, I'm not letting you walk into this without me. I've already dragged you too far into my mess. This isn't your mess, he said, gripping her shoulders gently. It became ours the moment I stepped into that hotel room, and I'm not letting anything happen to you. Do you understand? Her eyes filled again. Fear, love, regret, all swirling together. She pressed her forehead against his chest, her voice a broken whisper. Don't get hurt. He held her tight for a moment, just a moment, just enough to remember what he was fighting for. Liam grabbed his jacket and keys. I'm going with him. No, Aaron said. It's too dangerous, Liam scoffed. You saved my life twice before we graduated high school. Consider this payback. Aaron hesitated, but he couldn't deny the truth. Going alone was a death sentence. And Liam was the only person he trusted enough to watch his back in something like this. Fine, Aaron said, but we go smart. Marissa moved toward them, but Ethan lifted a weak hand. Listen, both of you. They paused. Don't try to fight them, Ethan whispered. Don't try to outsmart them. Just get the files and run. They won't stop unless someone forces them to. Aaron kneeled beside him. We'll get it, and we'll end this. Ethan closed his eyes, breathing shallowly. Be careful. Marissa knelt next, brushing Ethan's hair back gently. We'll be here when you get back. His lips twitched into a sad, grateful smile. I always knew you were too good for the world. Aaron rose again, his determination hardened into something sharp and unshakable. They gathered supplies, flashlights, gloves, a burner phone Liam had stashed for emergencies. Before leaving, Aaron held Marissa one last time. When I come back, he whispered, you tell me everything. No more secrets, no more running. She nodded against his chest. I promise. He kissed her forehead, then stepped out into the cool afternoon with Liam at his side. The drive to Clearwater took nearly an hour, enough time for Aaron's mind to cycle through every worst-case scenario, every possibility of ambush, every reason Marissa had hidden the truth, every moment he'd mistaken her silence for betrayal instead of survival. Liam drove, eyes sharp on the road. You good? He finally asked. No, Aaron admitted, but I'm ready. Liam nodded. That's usually enough. The storage facility appeared on the horizon, long rows of metal units, fenced off with razor wire, a single security camera sweeping lazily across the entrance. It was too quiet, too still, as if the place itself held its breath. They pulled up to the gate. Aaron typed in the code Ethan had given him. The keypad blinked green. The gate groaned, and they drove through. As they passed rows of nearly identical units, Aaron scanned the numbers until he found it. Unit 119. Its metal door was faded and rusted at the corners, the padlock small but solid. Liam killed the engine. You thinking what I'm thinking, Liam whispered. That this might be a trap. Aaron replied. Exactly. Aaron didn't answer. He stepped out of the truck, feeling the gravel crunch beneath his shoes. He listened. The wind rustling the chain-link fence. A distant bird. Nothing else. Too quiet. He approached the padlock, sliding the old metal key into it. His fingers trembled slightly. The lock clicked open. He hesitated. Ready? Liam asked. No, Aaron whispered, but we're doing it anyway. Together, they heaved the metal door upward. It screeched loudly, echoing through the empty rows. Inside, the unit looked ordinary. Dusty boxes, plastic tubs, a tarp covering something in the back. Aaron's heart raced as he stepped inside. The air was stale, heavy with dust. Liam followed, flashlight in hand. Check the boxes, Aaron said. They searched quickly but carefully. Blank ledgers, old clothes, nothing important, nothing dangerous. Until, Aaron, Liam called softly. You need to see this. Aaron approached the back corner. Under the tarp sat a weathered metal briefcase with reinforced edges and a biometric lock. It wasn't the kind of briefcase anyone used for business documents. It was the kind used for evidence too dangerous to leave unguarded. Aaron reached out, fingers brushing over the cold metal surface. This was it. This was what Ethan had risked everything for. What had chased him for a decade. What had nearly gotten Marissa killed. This is the hell they're after, Aaron murmured. Yeah, Liam said. And now we have it. As Aaron lifted the briefcase, something metallic glinted in the corner of his eye. A small red light blinking from behind a box near the wall. Not a reflection. A signal. A tracker. His blood went cold. "Liam," he whispered. "We need to leave now." Liam turned, and that's when they heard it. The distant hum of engines. More than one. Growing louder. Coming closer. "Oh, hell." Liam breathed. They knew. Aaron grabbed the briefcase, bolting toward the door. Liam followed close behind. They sprinted to the truck as 3 black SUVs rounded the corner of the lot, tires screeching violently. They blocked the exit. Liam shouted. "Back route," Aaron yelled. "Take the maintenance road." Liam floored the gas. Gravel exploded beneath the tires. The truck fishtailed but surged forward. The SUVs closed in, engines roaring like predators preparing to strike. One SUV swung to the side, trying to cut them off. Liam jerked the wheel, nearly clipping a storage unit, but managing to squeeze through. "They're on us," Liam yelled. Aaron twisted around, watching as the SUVs sped after them. Men in black coats leaned out the windows, eyes cold, calculating. "Aaron," Liam said, between clenched teeth. "We're not getting out of here unless we lose them." Aaron gripped the dashboard. Then, lose them. Liam slammed into a sharp turn, bouncing onto the maintenance road behind the facility. Dust exploded behind them, obscuring part of the SUV's view, but not enough. One SUV sped ahead, taking a parallel road. "They're trying to flank us," Aaron shouted. "I see it." The path narrowed, trees crowded close. If Liam miscalculated even slightly, they'd collide at full speed. "Aaron." "Hold on." Liam swerved into a clearing at the last second. The flanking SUV shot past them, overshooting the turn. For a moment, just one, they had an opening. "Go! Go!" Aaron yelled. Liam punched the accelerator. The truck flew over a small embankment and back onto the road leading toward town. The SUVs regrouped behind them, but distance grew. Not enough to escape fully, but enough to survive. After several breathless minutes, the SUVs finally broke off. Disappearing down a side road, Liam slowed the truck, gasping. They're regrouping, not giving up. Aaron clutched the briefcase, heart pounding. "We need to get back," he said urgently. "Marissa, Ethan, they're alone, and the men think she has the files," Liam replied grimly. "Which means we're running out of time." Aaron finished. They locked eyes. Then Liam stepped on the gas again. The race wasn't over. The danger hadn't passed. They were heading back into a storm, and this time, the storm was heading straight for Marissa. The road blurred under Liam's tires as they sped back toward his house, every second stretching thin with dread. Aaron sat rigid in the passenger seat, the cold metal briefcase heavy on his lap. It felt like holding a ticking bomb. Except this one didn't just threaten him. It threatened Marissa. It threatened Ethan, who was barely clinging to life. It threatened everything Aaron still loved, and everything he thought he'd already lost. "She's in danger," Aaron muttered under his breath for the 10th time. "They think she has this thing. They won't wait. They won't hesitate." Liam kept his eyes sharp on the road. "We'll get there. We're not far." But not far suddenly felt like an ocean away. Aaron's mind spiraled with images of men in black coats forcing open Liam's door, dragging Marissa out, screaming, finishing what they'd started at the hotel. His hands tightened on the briefcase until his knuckles blanched. He wasn't going to let anything happen to her. Not after everything. Not after realizing how badly he'd misunderstood her silence, her distance, her pain. We should have talked. We should have trusted each other. We should have faced this together from the start. But regret was useless now. What mattered was getting back before the worst could happen. As they approached Liam's neighborhood, Aaron noticed too quickly, too clearly, that something was off. The street was too quiet. No dog walkers, no morning joggers, no cars pulling out of driveways. Just a thick, unnatural stillness. Liam noticed it too. "You see that?" Aaron nodded grimly. "They're here." Liam slowed the truck as they turned onto his block. Aaron scanned every shadow, every parked car, every glint of light on glass. No black SUVs, no men in sight. But the absence of danger sometimes meant danger had already gotten inside. The moment Liam pulled into the driveway, Aaron was out of the truck, sprinting toward the front door. He didn't bother unlocking it gently. He shoved it open so hard it slammed against the wall. "Marissa!" he shouted. His voice cracked through the house like a gunshot. Silence answered. Then, faintly, "Aaron!" He rushed inside. Marissa stood at the hallway entrance, eyes wild, tears streaking her cheeks. When she saw him, when she saw he was alive, something inside her broke open completely. She ran to him, and he caught her in his arms, lifting her off the ground as she clung to him. "You're okay," she cried against his chest. "You're okay." He held her tighter, burying his face in her hair. "Are you hurt? Did they come? Did anyone?" She shook her head quickly. "No. But they were outside earlier. Liam's cameras caught them. They didn't try to get in. But I've been terrified. Ethan got worse. I didn't know if you were alive. I didn't know if—" "I'm here?" Aaron whispered fiercely. "I'm here, Rissa." For a moment, the world shrank to just the two of them, breath to breath, heartbeat to heartbeat. He hadn't held her like this in weeks, maybe months. Not since before secrets had begun poisoning the space between them. She pulled back enough to touch his face with trembling hands. "I'm so sorry for all of this, for everything I kept from you. We'll talk later," Aaron said gently. "Right now, we need to make sure you're safe." Liam entered behind them. "Where's Ethan?" "In the living room," Marissa whispered. "He's fading." Aaron and Liam rushed in. Ethan lay slumped against the couch cushions, eyes half open but unfocused, skin pale with a bluish tint. His breaths were fast but shallow, each one sounding like it might be his last. Aaron knelt beside him. "Ethan, stay with us." "Okay." Ethan's lips twitched. "Did you get it?" Aaron nodded and lifted the briefcase slightly. "We got it." Ethan's relief was visible, even through the haze of pain. "Good. Then you can end this." Marissa knelt beside him, brushing damp hair from his forehead. "Don't talk like you're already gone. You're going to make it." Ethan gave a thin smile, full of sadness. "I'm not stupid, Marissa." She shook her head violently. "No, no. I didn't find you just to lose you again." Aaron swallowed hard, forcing himself to focus. "First, we need a plan." Liam crossed his arms, thinking, "We can't just hand this over to the police. Not without context. Not without protection. These people have men everywhere. Corrupt cops, bribed officials." Aaron nodded. "We need someone high enough, clean enough, with enough authority that they can't be bought off or silenced." "That's a small list," Liam muttered. Marissa inhaled shakily. "What about the FBI?" "Not the local branch," Aaron said. "Too risky." Liam frowned. "Then who?" Aaron paused, then met Marissa's eyes. "Your mother's old contact?" "The federal prosecutor she used to work under." Marissa blinked. "You remember him. You said he was one of the only honest people you'd ever met." Aaron replied. "Someone who hated corruption more than anything." Marissa wiped her tears. "Edward Ramsey. Does he owe her a favor?" Liam asked. "No," Marissa whispered. "But he'd help anyway, because he believes in justice." Aaron stood, determination sharpening inside him. "Then he's our way out." Liam nodded. "We just need to get to him quietly." But before they could continue, Ethan suddenly lurched forward, coughing violently. Blood splattered into his lap. Marissa gasped, grabbing him. "Aaron, he's getting worse." Aaron knelt again, steadying Ethan's shoulders. "It's okay. It's okay. Just breathe." Ethan tried to inhale, but his chest rattled dangerously. His eyes fluttered, panic flickering inside them. Marissa sobbed. "We need a hospital now. I don't care anymore. I don't care if they find him. He's dying." Aaron looked to Liam, but Liam didn't have to speak. The truth hung between them. Taking Ethan to a hospital meant the network could trace them. They had eyes everywhere. One ID check, one registered visit, one camera, and Ethan would be dead within hours. But not taking him. Aaron stared at Ethan's shaking body, fear gripping him. "Marissa," he said softly, "he might not survive the drive." She shook her head bitterly, tears streaming. "So what? We let him die here instead. Out of sight, like he hasn't suffered enough." Aaron's voice broke. "I don't want that either." Ethan suddenly gripped Aaron's arm with surprising strength. "No hospitals," he rasped. "Not yet. You need to finish this first. Ethan, you have to get Ramsey the files." Ethan whispered, every word a struggle. "If I die before you do, bury me somewhere quiet, but get those bastards locked away." Marissa sobbed harder. "Stop it. Ethan, stop talking like that. You're not dying. You're not allowed to." He closed his eyes, tears slipping out. "You were always the brave one." Aaron's throat tightened. Ethan forced his gaze to him. "Protect her. Don't let them take her." Aaron nodded, something fierce igniting inside him. "I won't. Ever." Ethan sagged back against the cushions, breath weakening. Marissa held him close, trembling uncontrollably. Aaron looked at Liam. "We need to move now." "Tonight." Liam nodded. "I'll prep the car. No phones, no GPS. We go dark." Aaron glanced at Marissa, who was still whispering to Ethan, trying to anchor him to the world. He stepped closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Marissa, we're getting through this, together." She looked up, eyes swollen and desperate. "I don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose you either." "You won't lose me," Aaron whispered. "But when this is over, we're going to fix us. For real this time. No more secrets." Her lips trembled. "I want that." He pressed his forehead to hers. "When we walk out of here tonight, our lives will never be the same. But you're not alone anymore." Her fingers curled into his shirt, holding him as if her life depended on it. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, they were one again. Not healed, not whole, but together. And together was enough to face the storm waiting outside. Night pressed against the windows like a warning. Clouds hung low, swallowing the moon, leaving the world outside Liam's house drenched in darkness. The kind of darkness that feels alive, watching, listening, waiting. Aaron gripped the handle of the briefcase, as if it were the only solid thing left in the universe. The files inside could save them, or doom them. It depended on how the next few hours unfolded. Liam backed the car into the driveway, keeping the headlights off. "We leave in 5, he whispered. "Pack light. No electronics except the burner. No noise." Marissa hovered near Ethan, who lay barely conscious, his breath shallow and uneven. She stroked his forehead gently, her voice cracking as she whispered his name over and over, as though the sound alone might keep him tethered to life. Aaron approached, kneeling beside her. "We're going to Ramsey," he said quietly. "He'll know what to do." She nodded, but fear flickered in her eyes. "What if they follow you? What if Ramsey can't help? What if—" "Rissa," he whispered, tilting her chin up so she would meet his gaze. "We've survived this far. We're not stopping now." Her lips trembled. "I'm scared, Aaron." He cupped her cheek gently. "So am I. But fear isn't going to save us. You, trusting me again, that will—" Tears filled her eyes. She leaned into his touch, nodding. Liam returned, carrying a duffel bag. "If we're doing this, we need to move." But before anyone could respond, Ethan groaned, forcing his eyes open. "Aaron," he whispered. Aaron leaned closer. "I'm here." Ethan swallowed with effort. Don't take Marissa. They'll expect her. They'll look for her on the roads." Marissa shook her head violently. "I'm not staying behind." "You have to," Ethan rasped. "If they catch you." This was all for nothing. "Let Aaron and Liam go. They're not watching them the same way." Aaron frowned. "He's right. They're tracking you. Not us." Marissa's voice broke. "I'm not letting you go alone. Not now. Not again." You won't be alone, Liam said gently. I'll go with him. You stay here. Keep Ethan safe. But she shook her head, torn apart inside. If something happens to you out there, Aaron reached for her hands, pulling them to his chest. When this is over, when we're safe, I'm coming back to you, I promise. Her breath shuddered. She looked at Ethan, who gave her a faint, pleading nod. Stay, Ethan whispered. Please. For me. Finally. Marissa broke. She threw her arms around Aaron, hugging him with a desperate strength that nearly knocked the wind from him. Come back, she whispered against his shoulder. Don't you dare die on me. He held her tightly, breathing her in. I won't, I swear. When she finally released him, his chest felt hollow and full all at once. He stood, gripping the briefcase, and followed Liam out into the night. The cold hit them immediately, slicing through their jackets. Liam unlocked the car door, and they climbed in. Aaron looked once more through the window. Marissa stood inside, one hand on the glass, watching him. Her face was etched with fear and something else. Hope, a fragile, trembling hope. He gave her a small nod. Then Liam pulled away. The drive into the city was suffocatingly tense. Every car behind them felt like a threat. Every shadow felt like a figure waiting to strike. Aaron couldn't stop checking the side mirror, scanning for headlights that followed too closely. 20 minutes in, Liam finally broke the silence. You okay? No, Aaron said, but I'm focused. Good. Because this is the part where everything can go wrong. Aaron already knew that. They were heading to the federal prosecutor's downtown office, a secured building with older, strict protocols. Ramsey would be working late. He was known for it, but that meant every minute they lingered outside increased the risk of being spotted. They arrived shortly after 1 a.m. The tall stone building loomed overhead, its windows mostly dark except for a single floor near the top. Ramsey's office. Liam parked in the shadows near the loading bay. We go in the side entrance. Aaron nodded. Cameras, blacked out by the storm, Liam said with a thin smile. For once, luck's on our side. They entered quietly, climbing the stairwell instead of using the elevator. Aaron's heartbeat echoed in his ears with every step. When they reached the 6th floor, they found Ramsey's office half lit through frosted glass. Aaron hesitated only a moment before knocking. A sharp voice answered. Who is it? Edward Ramsey, Aaron called. My name is Aaron Hale. You don't know me. But the door opened abruptly. A tall man in a suit stood before them, silver hair slightly disheveled, eyes narrowed with suspicion. Aaron Hale, he said slowly, as though tasting the words. Why does that name ring a bell? I'm Marissa Hale's husband. Recognition flickered. Then caution deepened. And what are you doing here in the middle of the night? Aaron lifted the briefcase. We need protection. We need your help. And we have evidence. Ramsey stepped back, motioning them inside. Start talking. They entered. Liam closed the door behind them. Aaron placed the briefcase on Ramsey's desk. This contains files connected to a trafficking network. Names, transfers, photos. Enough to put dozens of people away. Ramsey stiffened. You understand what you're implying. This is major federal jurisdiction. We know, Aaron said. Ramsey studied his face. Where did you get this? It was stolen 10 years ago, Aaron said carefully, by someone who's been hunted ever since. And now they're hunting you, Ramsey guessed, eyes sharp. They're hunting my wife, Aaron said, and they won't stop. Ramsey opened the case cautiously. When he saw the documents inside, his expression changed instantly from suspicion to horror. My God, he whispered. Aaron stepped closer. Can you help us? Ramsey closed the case again, jaw tightening. This can take down the entire network, but it also means the moment we activate it, they'll know. They'll retaliate. Hard. We know, Aaron said. We just need protection. For Marissa. For her brother. Brother, Ramsey repeated. He's dying, Aaron said. He's the one who stole the files. Shock crossed Ramsey's face, but he recovered quickly. This changes everything. A knock suddenly rattled the door. One sharp tap, then another, then a third. Aaron's blood froze. Liam whispered, "They found us." Ramsey's face hardened. "Move! Back room! Now!" They grabbed the briefcase as Ramsey shoved them through a side door that led to a narrow filing room. He locked it behind them. A second knock thundered through the office. Then a voice smooth, deep, chilling. "Mr. Ramsey," it called. "We have business with you." Aaron felt his pulse slam through his chest. Ramsey spoke through the door, voice steady. "My office is closed." "Oh, we think you'll want to make an exception." Aaron grabbed Liam's arm. "They're going to force their way in." "If they do," Liam whispered, lifting a metal paperweight as a makeshift weapon, "we defend ourselves. No plan, no way out, just survival." A crash exploded from the outer office glass, shattering. Furniture scraping violently. Footsteps. Many. Aaron pressed closer to the door. Breath shallow. Ramsey shouted, "Federal property. You're committing a felony." A voice responded, cold and amused. "We're past worrying about felonies." Then, a gunshot. Ramissa's scream echoed in Aaron's mind, even though she wasn't here. Liam whispered, "Aaron, if we die here, we're not dying." Aaron said through clenched teeth, "Not tonight." Suddenly, the back wall of the filing room, the one Aaron hadn't paid attention to, clicked. A panel slid open. Ramsey hissed, "Move." They scrambled inside, just as Ramsey slammed the panel shut behind them. A narrow emergency corridor extended into darkness. "This way," Ramsey whispered urgently. They ran, the echo of gunshots bouncing behind them, down the corridor, down another stairwell, out a hidden maintenance exit. The cold night slapped them in the face as they burst into the alley behind the building. Ramsey shut the door quietly. "They won't find this exit immediately. But they will look. We need to leave. Now." Aaron clutched the briefcase, adrenaline burning through him. "What do we do next?" he demanded. Ramsey stepped forward, determination blazing in his eyes. "We go after the rest of them," he said. "And we bring your wife under federal protection, Marissa." Aaron nearly collapsed with relief. "We'll get to her," Ramsey said firmly. "And we'll end this." Aaron exhaled shakily. For the first time since the nightmare began, the path forward felt clear. Fight back. Expose them. Protect Marissa. Save Ethan if there was still time. And reclaim the life the shadows had stolen from them. In the end, this story reminds us that the deepest wounds in a relationship are rarely caused by betrayal itself, but by the silence that grows when fear replaces honesty. Love isn't the absence of mistakes, it's the courage to confront the truth together, even when it hurts. Aaron and Marissa learned that trust can fracture without warning, yet it can also be rebuilt one honest moment at a time. And sometimes, the people we think are drifting away are simply carrying a weight too heavy to share until someone reaches for their hand. Healing isn't quick, and it isn't easy, but when two hearts choose to fight on the same side, even the darkest battles can lead to light. If this story touched you, share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what part resonated most, and if you enjoy emotional, cinematic storytelling, don't forget to subscribe for more.